Alright, good afternoon. So I made another rookie mistake. I actually am going to be doing an unboxing video today on some suspension components, as you can see on the floor here, that I'm going to be installing on my G35. The problem is I already unboxed it, made a video and everything, and took it to my computer to edit it, and the camera placement was really bad. I'm trying out a new head rig, and I had the camera just not adjusted properly to where you could see anything that well. The information was there, but I feel like the footage just wasn't all that great. So I'm going to go ahead and redo everything. But basically, I've been talking about suspension for a while on some of my videos about how I was thinking about installing suspension on the G35 and everything, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. So this is everything I'm going to be installing. I have tein Basis Z coilovers, Voodoo13 camber arms, Phase 2 motortrend eccentric lockout plates, and some acdelco toe bolts. So basically, I'm just going to start with one product at a time here. So looking at the Voodoo13 camber arms, these use QA1 spherical bushings with the PTFE nylon races, so they are self-lubricated and prevent dust and dirt and everything like that. These are made in America, and I really like the company's bio, just like they're pro-military, which is nice. They're made in America. They seem really heavy-duty. The welds look of high quality. These are the hard gray finish. I was trying to get the OD green. They did not have it in stock when I was ordering, so I went with these. These seem like a heavy-duty, nice arm. You can pick these up for under $200. They are a lot better quality than a lot of the cheap ones, and I say they're at least to the middle high end of when you compare all the other brands available. Obviously, SPL or something is going to be, I think, of higher quality. Who knows? I haven't actually directly compared the two, or either by driving or in my hands. But I will say SPL uses titanium and all these fancy things that it's kind of hard to argue that they're just, there's more money invested in the R&D and the materials of those types of components that they would probably rank at a little bit higher than these. But these seem to fit my budget really well, and they seem to be of great quality, so I'm really excited to try these out. They don't have the Chinese cheap spherical bushing. They have high quality spherical bushings, which means that I could replace them by buying QA1 spherical bushings later on if I need to. So I'm really excited about those. It comes with a pamphlet here that basically just gives you a little idea of the suspension layout for the G35. Talks about their warranty, how to adjust the rod end adjustment, and what is to do and what is not to do. Explains their warranty. These offers a limited lifetime warranty against material and workmanship and manufacturer defects. So anything like that. Obviously, if you don't maintain the finish on them or anything like that, that's not covered. But anything with the rod end or the actual component itself will be covered under their warranty. These camber arms, they are adjustable for 11 degrees. You can go, I think, 6 degrees positive camber to -5 degrees camber. So depending on where you start with, you can increase, -5 degrees camber, and you can increase positive 6 degrees camber. So that's something to consider when you're choosing a camber arm for your G35. Now, these ones are not curved, but from what I read, these ones do not interfere with sway bars. Aftermarket sway bars should not be an issue with these camber arms. There may be a close tolerance, but it will not interfere, from what I've read, with most sway bars. Some of the really thick race sway bars may interfere with the camber arms, but for the most part, you should be fine. And I know that I think Chris Forsberg had a 370Z, and he ran all Voodoo suspension and actually helped design the Voodoo13 angle kit that you can buy for the 370Z, and he ran, I think, Suspension Techniques sway bars with these camber arms and everything, had no issues. So you shouldn't have a problem with sway bar interference issues. Next on the list is these Phase 2 motortrend eccentric washer lockout plates. These are awesome when you're installing a fully adjustable camber arm, toe arm, traction arm, anything that is like this that you would then adjust in alignment with an arm instead of a cam bolt, because cam bolts under hard driving can slip and change your alignment. When you have adjusted your alignment with these, and then your cam bolt slips, your alignment has just changed. And even though these haven't changed, your alignment's different, and now you have to get it reset. So it's one more variable in your suspension that can fail. So these lockout plates, they go in to where the cam bolts were, and they prevent you just replace them with these bolts, and they no longer has any adjustment in that area. So all the adjustment's going to be done with your camber arm or aftermarket suspension link. And that is great because you know once you lock this down, that's where your alignment's going to stay. It's not going to change under any driving condition unless this arm fails. So like I said, it just takes out one of the weaker links of when you're setting your alignment. Now next, I purchased these acdelco, well, they're cam bolts, but they're listed as a camber kit, but they're actually used as toe bolts in the G35. You can use them as camber bolts or toe bolts, so you can do this modification to your camber spot or your toe spot on your subframe to adjust your camber or toe for more than factory when you lower your vehicle. I didn't want to go this route with the camber because honestly I really like these, and I just felt like it was the better decision. Now for toe, I went ahead and got these, and these are basically identical to the SPC toe bolts offered for the G35, but you can get them on Rock Auto for like 20 bucks. So they're more affordable, and they're the exact same. Now I will say this template that comes in here, it's just a paper template. You stick it in the slot where your cam bolts go, and you have to grind the inside diameter bigger to allow more adjustment that these bolts provide. Now online you'll read a lot that they tell you just to do one side because you're only adjusting your toe in one direction. The problem is, and I'm just going to warn you because I've read this and people have had this issue with installers damaging their bolts, that if you do not grind both sides of the inner circle, you will not be able to turn the bolt 360 degrees, which means your installer needs to know about this limitation so they do not force the bolt to rotate and damage the cam bolt, because once the cam bolt is damaged, it will no longer function properly. So my recommendation, and the recommendation I've came across online, grind the entire template. Do not just grind one half of it unless you are doing your own alignments and you are mindful of the limitation due to not grinding the entire inner circle. So yeah, that's one thing to consider when you're getting these. But here's the part number. You can get these on Rock Auto. Very cheap, but work great. So those are the three parts for the alignment issues. Then the reason why we need an alignment issue is because we're going to go low. We're not going super low. We're not Stance. We're not Mad Type JDM. But we are driving a G35. It is a performance-oriented car, and I want to lower it. One, it looks better, and two, I want to see how these ride on a G35. I bought these for my wife Scion. I mentioned it in a vehicle, was lowered on these tein Basis Z coilovers. Her strut was blown on one of her fronts, and it just obviously didn't handle as good as it should. So instead of spending $600-700 on a reputable strut like KYBs or Coney's and a lowering spring like Ibach or H&R or something like that, TN, I was like, hey, the Basis Z's offered under $500 for most applications. Let's just try those out and see how they do. I put them on her car probably about 10,000, 15,000 miles ago, and honestly, I love them. The car is extremely fun to drive. The body roll was not reduced to zero like high-performance race coilovers, but it was reduced dramatically, and the handling improved dramatically. The steering's nice and tight. Bumps are just sucked up, and it just keeps on going. When there's no bumps, it rides like a Cadillac. It's nice and smooth down the freeway. It does not bounce. It does not wobble. It does not wave like some of the cheaper coilovers I've ridden on. It is tight, stable, and just a blast to drive. She gets on me all the time because I drive it aggressively. But these coilovers are the upgraded, and I don't want to say upgraded like they took it and made it better in a sense of like a model higher than the basics, but this is a replacement for the basics. So the TN basics were a coilover designed just like this. You use your factory strut mounts off your factory OEM suspension on top of these coilovers. They do not come with pillow balls. They do not come with solid mounts or nothing. So your factory strut mount is what goes on top of the spring and everything, and the instructions tell you how to do that. But what is nice about these is the TN basics and all the TN coilovers were fully rebuildable. So when they wore out, you sent it into TN, you paid $120, $150, and they rebuilt the strut cartridge and mailed it back to you. They changed their manufacturing design to cut down the cost to allow these to be affordable, because everybody's like, oh, $500, that's cheap for coilovers. I don't trust those. but you should, because these are actually really high quality coilovers. They just changed the manufacturing process to cut down cost because a very low number of consumers were actually utilizing the service and rebuilding their coilover cartridges. So they said, if no one's really using this, why spend the extra cost in manufacturing a rebuildable strut when we can just change over to a sealed strut? And then when people need a new one, they just buy a new strut, and it's cheaper. So you can get these for like $100, a replacement strut, if one blows out or wears out after, a couple years or whatever. So instead of having to send it in and get it rebuilt and wait for it to come back, you just call them up and say, hey, I need a replacement strut. All their struts that are different, like this is a right strut, it is listed on here. I don't know if you can see that, but it has an R for right, passenger side. So you give them this part number off the strut, and you tell them that's what you need, and they send it to you. And then you just pull all the components off, put it on the new strut, and you're good to go. All this stuff is removable that needs to come off and go onto the new strut. But you no longer have to mail it in, wait for it to come back. You just order one, pay the money, and it comes back. And it's cheaper than it was to rebuild it. They also changed some designs, improved the diameter of the pistons, some of the internals, the valving, the type of fluid. Everything's been upgraded and updated to newer technology and everything to allow these coilovers to be very competitive in the price bracket that they are designed to be in, and also for the performance bracket that they are trying to be in. These are not a full-blown race coilover. You're not going to take these and put them on your car and go road race and drift in competitions and everything. Now, can you take them on the track? Sure, you can take them on the track. Occasionally. It's not something you would do every weekend or twice a week or whatever. They're not designed for that. They're designed for a daily driver who wants to lower their car with properly matched struts so that everything functions properly, it rides good, and can maintain a lower ride height without blowing struts left and right. And that's what these do. My wife's car is lowered quite a bit, more than she thought it was going to be, because at first she wanted to slam it, and she's like, and I told her, no, let me set it to what I want, and then you see if you like it. And she loves it. She's like, yeah, it does not need to go any lower. But she doesn't have any problem scraping or anything like that, and it drives really well. I mean, it's amazing. Night and day difference. So these are listed for different ride heights based on application. I won't go into all of them, but if I have it here for the G35, they are a 504 spring rate in the front and a 448 spring rate in the back, and that's in pounds per inch, and then a 9 kilograms per foot, or kgf millimeter in the front, so 9 in the front and 8 in the back. So they're fairly stiff. They basic drop is 1.6 in the front, 1.4 in the back. The fronts can go as low as 3.8 inches. That's almost 4 inches. And a minimum drop of 0.6. So basically a half inch to 3 1/4 inches. The rears can go anywhere from 0.8 inches to 2.5 inches. They recommend in the front 1.2 inches to 2 inches. In the rear, 1 inch to 1.8 inches. So you can easily hit anywhere from 1 inch to 2 inches drop within their safe zone. You can go further, but keep in mind, the lower you go, the more wear you put on the struts, and the sooner they're going to wear out. Same with racing. The more you race on a track and do all that type of stuff, they're going to wear out. They're not designed for that. But so far we have about like 15,000 miles on my wife's, and they still handle like the day I put them on there. So longevity-wise, for what they're designed, a daily driver that wants to lower the car but still increase performance, they're great. They come with your dust boots. They come with your isolator spacers. They come with your spring adjusters. They come with your springs. They come with your struts. Everything is got its position for all your brake cables, your sway bar mounts, and everything. The instruction booklet has a lot of information. It's in multi-language. It has your warnings, your cautions. It has all your measurements for setting up the strut, and all your measurements for your vehicle reference, so that depending on what application you're putting on, where you should be measuring and how much it should measure to set the ride height to the proper ride height. It also has these really nice parts diagrams here. They have double stars listed for every part you're going to reuse from your OEM suspension. So it really takes the guesswork out of knowing what exactly you need to reuse from your original suspension. These carry a warranty, and off the top of my head, I'm trying to find it real quick, I believe it is 1 year manufacturer warranty on these. I don't see it right off the top of my head. I don't want to waste a lot of time looking for it, but I believe it is 1 year manufacturer warranty. So they are warranted, and that's any defects, any issues, you have a strut blow or anything like that, you call them up and tell them, hey, you know, this is what happened, and you know, from what I've read, they will take care of it within your year. After that, if you blow a strut or whatever, they're inexpensive to replace. They are still the high quality powder coated finish that has been rust tested in multiple situations. It's a high durable finish that is not going to be just chipped off very easily and just going to chip away and allow all your components to rust. You have your nylon washers to prevent or to allow lubrication of your springs while you're trying to adjust it, make it easier. The adjusters, the threaded insert adjusters are coated and everything like that to prevent corrosion and buildup from forming and making it very difficult to adjust your springs. So yeah, these are a high quality coilover for an affordable price. I'm really excited to try these out. They came out with the tein basics, and a lot of people are familiar with those. They were kind of harsh. The valving was probably too stiff for what they were, maybe the spring rates. They changed it. They came out with the tein basic Z, which was basically these coilovers, but still rebuildable. Then they upgraded to, or changed to the tein basis Z, which were no longer rebuildable, but are very similar to the basic Z coilovers. Except now there are sealed cartridges with the internal changes, piston diameter changes, and all the valving changes. So that's how the company had progressed in their entry-level coilovers, from the basics to the basic Z to the basis Z. Another thing to consider about these coilovers is these coilovers are not a true coilover setup. These are not able to be converted to a true coilover setup. A true coilover setup is like the fronts. The fronts are a true coilover setup. Your coil sits on your strut. It is one component that gets installed. In the rear, you have your isolators, you have your spring adjusters, and your spring separate from your strut. You cannot convert these by putting the spring on the strut like some other aftermarket coilovers, like I think BC and a few others may offer. So that's something to consider when you're thinking about purchasing these for your G35, 350Z, etc. Is that these are not able to be ran as a true coilover setup. I'm sure tein offers in their higher model ranges a true coilover setup, but the Basis Z are not designed to be used as a true coilover setup. They are used to be as a separate strut and spring setup, like OEM. So that's just something to consider when you are considering different types of coilovers and shopping around and trying to figure out what you want. So you have to take that into consideration on your needs and what you are doing with the vehicle, and whether you want a OEM coilover setup or a true coilover setup. So I'm really excited to try these out. I've had, like I said, I had good luck with the wife's car on these, so I'm really excited to try all these parts out on the G35. So if you are interested in following along and learning about how these products work on the vehicle and how they get installed, I will try to be as thorough as possible with my limitations of camera equipment. But I will try to, where it matters, I will try to get as much information for you guys so that you can see how you have to install some of these components when it comes to assembling the strut for reinstallation into the vehicle, and modifying the subframe for the aftermarket toe bolts, and installing your camber arms, which that's just going to be you know, match it up to the length of the factory one and bolt it in, and then take it to get in alignment. But yeah, I mean, you get your high quality adjusters with your torque fit, your adapter holes, so you can put your torque wrench in there to get proper torque on that. You get your high quality rubber, you know, special rubber whatever compound dust boots. Pretty much everything you need minus a few parts from your OEM suspension. So yeah, if you are interested in these parts, please follow along, like and subscribe my videos, and stay forward to the installation phase. So yeah, here's all the parts I'm going to be installing. I can't wait to get low and get dirty and get this thing all put together. All right, take care.